Yeah, Breaking Bad. You needed to buy like 10,000 packs of Sudafed to make one batch of meth.
Right, yeah. Get on the cell phone.
Don't make meth.
No, don't make meth. No.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's episode of the Go Headquarters podcast. I am Brandon Rahi, and with me today, Coach Keith McCormack. And we're going to talk a little bit about the core. For those of you that don't know, Keith runs a class called Restore Your Core here at Go Headquarters.
That's right.
Which gets some great reviews. And so we wanted to talk a little bit about that today because some people maybe don't know what it is. When I hear core exercise anyway, I'm thinking, hey, I'm going to do some sit-ups, I'm going to do some scissor kicks and some crunches, 6-minute ab style, right?
Right.
So what the heck is Restore Your Core?
All right, so what is Restore the Core? Really, we came up with this class really to educate people on, number one, what is the core? Where is the core? And what are the benefits of strengthening the core? Because so many people do get caught up with doing crunches. And if they do want to venture out into what's known as a core specific exercise, maybe they do a plank or something like that. So really we wanted to educate people on the fact that, number one, the core is the action center of the body. From an anatomical standpoint, I mean, it protects all of our inner organs, and most importantly, it stabilizes our spine. So if someone is relying upon just crunches as their way to strengthen their core, really they're doing the exact opposite of what really they should be doing, because one of the main purposes of our core musculature, which is all the way around our body, by the way, it's to keep us upright and to fight against gravity and keep our torso from flexing and crunching down in this position. So I need to do more things that are going to get my body and my posture in alignment and keeping my spine and all the natural curves of my spine in check the way that they should be. So in a nutshell, we want to educate people on what the core is, proper exercises that we can do that is going to strengthen the core, and all of this is in the benefit of hopefully strengthening the person and freeing them up from potential injuries when they're moving their body.
Sure. Okay. And you're kind of saying, you know, maybe freeing them up of potential injuries with, I guess with that in mind, the word restore, right? You name the class Restore Your Core. Does that mean they have a dysfunctional core? Like, that it is injured? Is that why that name is in there, maybe?
That's a really good question. And I think the reason that we came up with that is, I think to a certain degree, I think a lot of us have issues with core stability and strength. And the reason I say that is just because of the way that we are in modern society. A lot of people are running around with muscle imbalances. We get comfortable with the same movements over and over again, and that's outside in our everyday life. You know, let's say we have a job, we're kind of stuck in the same position. If you don't have a good trainer or a good coach in the gym, you get comfortable doing what you're doing all the time, you know, so you're doing the same movement patterns over and over again. You know, another thing too is a lot of people are sedentary, they're not moving. So they have a weakened part of their body. You know, this part of our body, it's the glue that holds everything together from the lower part of my body to the upper part. And, you know, one of the big things we talked about is this stabilizes our spine, which is huge. We only have one spine in this life, and we got to take care of it. But another thing that the core does is its force production. It transfers basically the force that we're creating from the ground up, but then also all this force that I'm going to create, it's going into my limbs too. So this is the action center of the body, like I said. One of the interesting things too, I think about the core, let's say that somebody has food allergies, they have gut inflammation or something like that. That's going to affect the nervous system in the gut, and it's going to also affect the way that we can actually recruit muscle tissue in our core.
Sure.
So when I say restore the core, absolutely, I think that we all have a certain degree of dysfunction when it comes to the core.
No doubt.
So that's why the tricky part about the core is a lot of what you have to do is isolation type exercises. And the typical person when they get in the gym, myself included, we don't like to slow down and do static exercises. Mm-hmm. We like to go, go, go. So with the format of our class, we start out with isolation exercises. And when we can master those and feel our body and have that alignment, then we're going to transfer into muscle integration, functional movement type stuff where we're moving our body like we're used to, but with that core engagement, just being able to stabilize and hold posture. in mind.
And it's going to take something like this class, I feel like, to maybe diagnose some of that stuff. You know, most of these people don't know they're walking around with set imbalances and don't even know that they need correction and they need restoration.
Yeah, you got to have somebody else's eyes on it. I mean, that's why it's beneficial to have somebody at home taking a look at you, using a PVC pipe or something as a biofeedback mechanism on the spine to try to see kind of what's happening. So absolutely.
How does this class particularly benefit, I'd say, what people are already doing? You know, because like for our members watching this podcast mainly, right? They're doing classes, they've got some coaching, they're moving barbells around and rowing and running and biking and doing some Metcons. So how does this class benefit what they're already working on?
Well, I think number one, this is dedicated exercise specific to the core. And it's done in a way that we slow it down. You know, when we're moving around in group fitness classes, we're going fast. Sometimes, you know, unfortunately under fatigue, form can go out the window. So in a way, I think that this class is a great way to fine tune movement patterns. But because we're doing the isolation work with stabilization exercise, we know what the body feels like when it's stable. You know, we know when we have proper core engagement. You know, we educate people on the fact that there's two parts of the core. There's an inner unit, that's the stabilizing part, and then there's the outer unit, which we see if we look in the mirror and we see our body. The thing about the outer movement, that's what moves this whole system right here. The problem is, you know, you can think of inner unit as kind of like the framework. The outer unit is the engine. So let's say I have a Ferrari engine, but I have the framework of like a Dodge Stratus. You know, if I'm going fast, I gotta.
You said Dodge Stratus, man. The SNL skit. I drive a Dodge Stratus.
I'm a man.
Oh my gosh.
But what I'm getting at there is it's like I tell my athletes, and if you're going to speed it up, you got to be able to slow it down, or else you are writing out a recipe for Injury City, and you don't want to go there because it's a bad place. It's dark. There's mean people there.
Mean people.
Injury City.
Avoid dark places.
So another thing too I think about this class is the simple fact that because we are paying big time awareness to the core, it's going to improve just the ability to recruit the muscles, motor pattern recruitment out of the brain. I mean, we're taking time to really strengthen the neurological connection of the nervous system, firing the right muscles at the right time, because we don't want the outer unit taking over. These are the bigger muscles. They want to take over. Our obliques want to take over, but we've got to stabilize on the inside.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So on a superficial level, you know, in a way, we're talking about some in-depth stuff, right? You and I get into this because we like kinesiology, we like exercise physiology. We get into this stuff about what muscle activation is happening, in what sequences, how are we doing the core bracing. We talk about this stuff. We kind of, I guess, I don't want to say dumb it down, but we put it in more layman's terms when we're coaching a lot, when we're doing something like a squat to brace. But you're taking the time to get into maybe some of that detail, which is great, and I think we have a lot of value there. So that being said, is this class for the more experienced exerciser, or is like a more novice athlete gonna still benefit from being in that? Like who is Restore Your Core right for?
All right, that's a great question, and because of the simple fact that this is foundational work that we're doing that is going to be relative to any athlete who's starting out from ground zero all the way up to someone who's competitive. And when I say foundational, what I mean about that is the simple fact that there's a direct link between core function, our ability to breathe from the diaphragm. So we're talking about full breath, diaphragmatic breathing, and then our posture. You know, all these are related. So exactly. Because of the simple fact of where our diaphragm sits, it's right smack in the middle of all those deep core muscles that we don't want to get into because it's beyond the scope of this. But because of the fact that they're all interlaced, if I'm not breathing right, which unfortunately myself included, throughout the day I have to really think about my breathing, because a lot of times we get trapped shallow just right here in the chest and neck. We're not getting that belly breath, you know what I mean? So my diaphragm is not pushing down the way that it should, which means that my pelvic floor muscles are also probably dysfunctional too. All that ties in together. So if we're talking about who's this geared towards, it's geared towards everyone. I think one of the biggest benefits of doing this class is it's raised my awareness of my own posture, my own breathing, and of course, like I mentioned before, when we're going fast and we're moving heavy load, I want to be able to stabilize my spine. I want to be able to breathe properly. I want to do all this. So I think it fine tunes the way that I move my body just with body weight, but especially when it's even more important when I have an axial load, when I have a load on my spine.
Yeah.
So I think that this can improve athletic performance. I think that it can improve the way that we're moving our body out there when we're working or playing or having fun with our family. So to me, I think that this is just a safe measure to just have a body that is in balance, first of all, with our muscle tissue, and then also just one that hopefully has a strong core that will maybe stave off some of those common injuries that people have. Low back pain is the most common injury that we have going, you know, but think about this too. You know, if I have like a shoulder thing that's happening or my knee is hurting, a lot of times you can trace that back to not effectively stabilizing the core.
Yep.
So if you ask me, anyone and everyone can come to this class and get benefit from it.
Awesome.
Yeah, right on.
Well, that is some great insight on the Restore Your Core program that we're running here at Go headquarters. Keith is our go-to guy for that, so great coach. Definitely recommend coming in and checking it out if you haven't already. Keith, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks, man.
And we'll see you next time.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.